You're not going to cry. What? I don't know how to do Mark Wade's Baby Cry.
You know that's on Mayor Studios?
Yeah?
You run the company?
Yeah.
You think you'd know this stuff?
I can't know everything.
You act like you do. They're scary.
They're not scary.
That lady is.
Who?
Right on the end.
That's Betty Nelson.
She's scary.
She's very nice. You just got to get to know her, huh? Talk to her.
Hi.
Hi,
What's your name?
my name is Betty Nelson.
Are you scary?
And I don't think so.
What's wrong with you?
I'm short.
Why is she talking to a puppet?
Because we're all ventriloquists. We all talk to puppets.
Jeez. Take the picture and sit down. They're scary.
They're not scary. Look, Newton, why don't you just introduce yourself?
My name is Newton, and I'm the baby dragon. And my mama is famous.
She is.
Yeah, she was in the Game of Thrones, and she was in Harry Potter, and she was in the 2016 presidential elections.
There were no dragons in the election.
Yes, there was. She just didn't get elected. Did the room just get colder?
I think you alienated half the audience. You shouldn't do political jokes.
You shouldn't elect them either.
Well, that was a clip with Tom Crowl with Newton the Baby Dragon at the 2017 convention. And needless to say, tonight we have on Tom Crowl. Tom, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Landon. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. So let's just go ahead and get into it. How did you get into, wait, not ventriloquism, but magic?
Yeah, when I was a kid, Mark Wilson was on television. I don't know if you remember that name or not. He had the Magic Circus, and then along came Doug Henning. And while I was interested in ventriloquism, magic seemed like, you know, where all the stardom was, where all the celebrity was. And, and I wanted to do that. So I remember Marshall Brodeen came on with a TV magic deck. And I saved every penny I could get. And I bought myself a TV magic deck. And I thought, I'm going to be a professional magician. So that's really where the interest started. I mean, I was pretty young when that all happened. And I can remember my sister had gotten a magic trick puzzle package, and I kind of confiscated that. So I was just fascinated with the art.
Wow. Wow. So where did you perform when you started magic, and how did that progress into your career till it met ventriloquism?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I started out like everybody. I was doing my church. I was doing birthday parties. And it got to a point that I loved it. So I started doing stage shows with the Society of American Magicians Assembly.
Okay, wow.
That was in Westminster here. And we used to do these big Halloween shows every year. And it gave me a chance to get on stage, and I always wanted to do illusions. I did all kinds of things as a magician. I mean, I did a straitjacket escape hanging upside down from a hot air balloon. Yeah, lots of people don't know that. Yeah, crazy stuff that I look back and go, I could have been killed. What was I thinking? And the money wasn't that good, so I don't know why I did it. But so I did all that kind of stuff, and I had assistants, and I traveled around. I did campgrounds and schools, and in I guess it was 19. I'm gonna be really bad here. 1991, I got married, and my wife joined the show, and we started doing fairs and festivals, and we traveled around the country doing, we'd be out all summer long working in the heat, in the dirt at the fairs, and did that for years. Had worked some cruise ships, had a lot of fun with that. And then in 2005, she decided she wanted to pursue her own career. And when she did that, I was left with a mind-reading Vietnamese potbelly pig and a kid show. And the pig and I didn't get along all the time, so I ate her, and no, I didn't. yeah, I retired her, and then I got rid of the kids show, and I thought I'm going to do ventriloquism, and so I got back into it. I had done it as a kid, had a Simon Says out of the Sears catalog, and I called Ken Groves, who I think you know.
Yes.
And, yeah, and Ken's like, hey, come on out. I'll teach you how to do this stuff. I couldn't go over right away, so I started buying stuff. I'm sure you probably heard that story. I can tell you my side of it, but
yeah, go ahead. No, I'd love to hear that.
Well, Ken was extremely helpful. He's been a friend for a long time. We met in the fair circuit, and he liked our show, and I liked his show because it was what I was doing at the time was extremely different. It wasn't, the standard magic show, and you hear a lot of magicians say that, but I was pretty out there. I did a bullet catch with a water cannon, one of those super soakers, and my son was dressed up as Cambo. His name was Cameron, or is Cameron, and so he would dress up in fatigues and come out. 4 years old, could barely lift this thing, and every time he tried to lift it and shoot me, he'd shoot me in the crotch. And so it was stuff that wasn't, your normal magic show,
right?
But so Ken and I just became friends because we both loved each other's sense of humor. And when I got back into Vent, I called him because I was really nervous. I was like, I don't know if he's going to be upset that I'm getting into this, or and he was like, no, man, we need more Vents. So come on out. And I had bought the Mayor course, and I had bought every book and DVD and everything you could get on the subject because I wanted to learn from all the sources.
Yeah.
And I went out to Ken's because I still wasn't quite getting it. And Ken said, bring along your puppet. Well, I had been on eBay. And, I had some money at the time. So I started buying all these one-of-a-kind puppets because I thought, if I'm going to be in it, the first thing I bought was an Axtell Vern.
Sure.
And then I started looking around at all the different Vent websites and the magician websites, and I saw Vern everywhere. And I was like, nah, that ain't going to work. I need something really different. And so I bought things that were one-of-a-kinds, things you couldn't get from anybody else, things that nobody else would have. And I liked this puppet, and I bought it. And then I got another puppet, and I liked that. I had a bunch of puppets I didn't have any characters for. And then I went out to Ken's, and I had anvil foot lockers. I mean, I'd spent money on these cases. I'm going to be a pro. And I went out to Ken's, and I'm unloading all these into his house. He's like, what did you bring? So I know he makes fun of that, but the other side, the flip side that he never tells anybody is I pull out a puppet. He goes, oh, that's cool. Let me see that. And he started playing with it. And Ken is so good.
Right.
And I was still, in my infancy with this, and he was able to bring those puppets, they just moved. They seemed alive in his hands. He wasn't really, doing much with them voice wise, but he'd play with them. And I was like, wow, that's great. And he'd go, okay, what else you got? And I'd pull out something. He goes, oh, I like that one even better. He loved all the puppets. He won't tell anybody that.
It was the same mentality as you when you bought them. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But do you know that to this day, I don't think I've used more than a few of them on the stage. So when I first got started, I had a local photographer here in town who's a friend of mine. He lined me up with all my figures, the standard Vent pose. I got, here's all my figures, and it was a cool shot. Right. But then people would go, well, are you going to use all those in the show? And I was like, no, because I don't have characters for them. But I didn't tell them that. I just said, oh, well, that's not really for a kid show, or that's not, you don't want that. That's for an adult, or a kid show. You're an adult act. Right. You're an adult audience. So, and then, Dangerous came along, and the moment I took him on stage, he just clicked with me. And I know that, that a lot of people go, I'm looking for that character that I can click with. I had his personality in mind the whole time. But when I had that puppet, that personality worked with that puppet. And I thought it's funny because I have a friend named Eugene Softy. I don't know if you know him or not, but Eugene actually keeps telling, he does these jokes like, I'll pay for the check and put it on my bill. And Dangerous is not a duck. He's a person.
Right.
To be a duck. And so, that's kind of the comedy that comes out of him. He does things that you never see a duck do. And the same thing with Newton, which you saw in the clip. He's a baby dragon. You know, this ugly thing that's huge that could swallow me is scared of everybody. So I don't know where I'm going here. I probably rambled off the question.
No, but that's interesting because earlier you mentioned that it was a puppet but not a character. Can you talk about the difference? Because I think that's a great point.
And that's something, you know, I tell people all the time. You see a great puppet, and you probably have done this. Have you bought puppets you don't use?
Oh, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's
what I built puppets I don't use.
Yeah. That's dangerous. But you can sell them, so you know you're
right. Yeah.
But I mean, a puppet doesn't have any kind of character. And when I see a vent pull out a puppet and do 2 or 3 minutes with it, and they do some jokes, and then they just kind of throw it away, and then they bring out another puppet, and it's the same thing. Yeah. The puppets don't have any real character. Some of them have the same voice. So the difference between a puppet and a character, it's so much easier to write for a character. A character has, you know, a defined personality. You know that personality, you know that character, and you can base it on people that you know. Dangerous is based on a couple of my friends who are very funny and very sarcastic, and you know, I can, whenever I'm working with him, I can hear them in my mind. I know what they would say if I said this. I mean, I know them that well, and so I already know what Dangerous is going to say because he's already alive for me. And when you just have a puppet, you know, people go, I want to get a puppet. I want it to be this. I want it to be that. I remember going down to the 2016 Vent Convention. I took Newton around. I had just got him. Had this art student build him for me. And he's absolutely a phenomenal puppet.
Beautiful.
I mean, he's gorgeous.
He's got individually built scales. I just wanted to mention that because it's, as a puppet builder, that's a tedious build.
Oh, and you know, the thing is, and the woman who built him, she was a college student, an art major, who happened to love making puppets. And what she charged me for him, she said, I will never build another one for that. And I gave her more money than she asked for. Right. But the thing is, she's an art student. She doesn't build puppets for a living. So Newton has some issues. And because he wasn't meant to be used constantly. And that's what I do. I use puppets constantly. So it's just little odds and ends that I want to change on him. And I don't have the skill to do that. And I need to get him to somebody who can. But anyway, I took him around to the convention, and everybody was like, I was asking people, what kind of voice would you put with this character? And they were all like, you know, the Sean Connery voice from, was it Dragonheart? One of those movies?
Like Dragonheart. Yeah.
And they're all like, oh, it should be like Sean Connery. And then other people were like, oh, it's got to be rough. And I couldn't write comedy for either of those. I came up with a flamboyantly gay character. You know, like, hi there, I'm just so excited to be here.
Yeah.
And I tried that on a couple audiences, and they just kind of sat there and looked at me. And I thought, they're afraid of where I'm going to take this. So I can't do that. You know, you don't want the audience to be afraid that you're going to stray into an area they're not going to be comfortable with.
But that's a great point, Tom, is that you took the feedback that you got from the convention and you went polar opposite.
Well, I think the reason is because everybody said that. Yeah. And Ken even said to me, he goes, yeah, whatever they say, don't do it. And and it's true. We have a lot of great vents that come to the convention. But when you're doing comedy, you've got to think outside of just the puppet. You got to think outside of just how it looks. You got to think of the character and what it's going to be. And coming up with that baby idea was not easy. I had another character that I was working on as a baby, a Mary Ann Taylor baby. And it was almost going to be a baby and then go into one of those, what was the Roger Rabbit, Baby Huey? Yeah, it was good. You know, okay, time's up. I'm out of here. I got a date. You know, that kind of thing. So, but he didn't work out real well either. And so I took the baby voice and added it to Newton. And the first time I walked on stage with it, I was at Knoebels theme park. I've been doing them for about this will be 25 years if they open this year. And I walked on stage with it, and I used that voice, and the whole crowd just broke up. And at the convention, it was the same way.
Yeah.
When he said, "Hi," everybody just started cracking. They were not expecting that voice.
Yeah.
And,
but it's because they had that expectation for what voice they wanted you to use for them.
Exactly.
And when you add that, it's like when you do a twist on a joke, you know. But it's a whole different thing. But it's super neat. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, that's how he came about. I kept playing with it, and you know, I'd ask everybody. I was, and you know, it's still, he's not a 100% defined character. I know he's a baby, but it's very hard to write comedy for a baby for me. So even though he's like 675 years old, it's not easy. So, but so yeah, he's you know, that was the story behind Newton. So
yeah. Well, that's interesting. Can you talk about how you write for Dangerous? Because you said that Dangerous is not a duck, and that's what's interesting too. Is I feel like if anyone else, you know, that had a duck puppet, they do the typical duck puns or put it on my bill or all that. How do you write for is it like writing for a cheeky boy character, but having it in the form of a duck, or is it totally different? What's your approach?
A little bit. You know, the old dialogue books, so many people read. And they go, well, if I got a joke out of them, it was worth the $2 or whatever Clinton charged for them. But most of those jokes are available on the internet for free. And honestly, the dialogue books in themselves were not good examples of a conversation. They just aren't.
Right.
If you sit around and, well, you write for your characters. Your dad will help you with that?
Occasionally.
Okay. Yeah. See, and what I did is I sat around, and this is something Ken advised, and I just watched people, how they talked, how they, you know, and when I'm sitting in a conversation with friends, I just listen to what I'm saying, what they're saying. And, you know, I try to emulate that in my stories. And then I always need a plot. And I mentioned this at one of the conventions, and God bless him, Shane West, I think it was, or Colin Diamond. I think it was Shane though, said afterwards, he goes, that was worth the whole price of the convention. What I was doing at the time is I was going on to the episodes where you can find all the synopsises of episodes of television shows.
Okay.
And I'm a huge Family Guy fan. So I would go on and I would see what the synopsis was, and then I'd take like one sentence from it, because they'd say something like, Brian's having issues with his girlfriend, or Stewie wants to kill Lois, you know, or something very bizarre.
Sure.
So I'd take that and I'd make that a plot for a script. And I would not watch the show. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to be influenced by it. And that was something somebody brought up at the convention. He said, well, why didn't you watch the show? Because then you'd have an idea. It's like, I don't want that. Right. I want to be able to do this on my own. So I would take that and I would kind of flesh it out. And that's one of the ways I wrote that 30 scripts in 30 days that I put together. 30 scripts, and it's all these stupid little plot lines from different TV shows. It's not, you know, years ago, Terry Fader talked about inspiration and theft. Inspiration, you know, everybody walked out of that going, oh, Terry said it's okay to take things. That's not what he said.
That was not what he said at all.
That's not what he said at all, but everybody thought he did. Yeah. Oh, I can just use things. No, don't do that. But yeah, I mean, it's, if you take a germ of an idea, and this is, if you go on, you watch Gilligan's Island had the same basic plot line as, you know, Beverly Hillbillies or something like that. All these different TV shows, even today, there's only so many subjects you can talk about, you can do. So it's the twist that you put on it. And so I take those germs of the idea and then I just start fleshing them out. And they don't always turn out the way I think they're going to. But I try to write it like I would talk it. And
Okay.
I think that's one of the key things that I learned from the online program, which was Steve Roy's Killer Comedy, Killer Stand-Up Comedy, which great course if you guys can get it, if you can find it still. I think it's online. But yeah, Steve Roy had a great comedy writing course, and he said, write like you talk, because literally you talk comedy.
Well, what's interesting is I was talking with Michael Paul. He was on America's Got Talent. I believe it was last year. I'm not sure, but he's a ventriloquist as well as a comedian. And he was looking at some of my stuff, and he said the problem with ventriloquists is they write to set up the puppet and not to set up the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so you shouldn't have. And the way I was writing at the time was it was mostly built like a questionnaire almost, where it was like, hi, my name's so-and-so and this is so-and-so, and it was a question. And so he's like, what you have to do is figure out how you can reword these questions to where they're either statements or maybe your point of view that the puppet can play on. Mm-hmm. So it seems more like a natural conversation, and that's changed my whole mindset, because I have him blurting that out whenever I add a question mark at the end of a sentence. I have to go back and and edit that. So it's
that's great advice. I have yet to meet that guy. I think he's like right up the road from me in Philadelphia.
Oh, really?
Or something like that. Or where is he?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
But I mean, the guy, he had an awesome bit on AGT, and that was the first time I'd ever heard or seen him, heard of it. And there's a lot of ventriloquists that you don't meet, that you don't hear about. And you kind of wish some of these people would come to the convention, because they're amazing talents, and it'd just be neat to get them to be a part of the community. I think that's one of the big things that we have, the community. It's an amazing group of people, and when you get together, like it's Old Home Week. So I'll leave it.
It's always a.
But that's great advice from him. And but by the same token, if you go back and look at some of Jeff's, and Jeff is one of the biggest sellers in our business, some of his stuff for a little while became question and answer. So I mean, it did.
But it's also kind of interesting, because you have. And I think I've noticed this more as I've watched comedians and then watched ventriloquist, is there's different styles of setting up the comedy. It's like situational, and you've got, Jeff is more like a comedian where he's got set up punch, but he does it with a puppet, So it's interesting to see the variance in styles.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of it. You were at the convention last year, right?
No, I was not there.
Oh man, you missed it. I'm gonna forget his name. Incredible Japanese. Oh, he's gonna kill me. Somebody write the name in the questions. It was oh man, I hate that. I can see him. And I talked to Takeshi. Okay. I'm sorry, Takeshi, if you're watching this, you don't understand English that well anyway. Sorry. I love you. I think you're great. But Takeshi came over, and he was doing Japanese style ventriloquism, and it blew me away. Stuff that, like during the setup, we did a thing where his wife was singing a song, and he was just sitting back there with his puppet, and I thought, okay, this is weird. And she wasn't as loud as she could be, and I kept saying, turn up her mic. What I didn't realize was he was doing the singing through her. And it was a very, and then during the show, I'm like, wait a minute, turn his mic up. And so that was an incredible thing. It was totally different style than what we do here. But it was amazing to see, because I saw things that if I really wanted to study it, I'm sure I could incorporate into my event. And that's one of the beauties of the international show at the convention. You've got so many great acts that have been over here from so many different countries. And Darren Carr was on one year.
Yes.
What, man, he brought down the house. I knew he was good. I had no idea how good he was. And I'm really glad he was great, because I recommended him to Mark. But yeah, I mean, it's so refreshing to see some of these acts and how they adapt, how they change the basics. And I think that's something, the amateurs, the part-time pros, they're still learning. They're still, even though some of them are very proficient technically, there's things that they can still do. And I think sometimes a lot of people forget that it's more than just being able to talk without moving your lips. There's so many more aspects to this, and they're not easy to put together and make it look like you're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. That is a great point. Wow.
I don't do anything anyway.
Can you talk a little bit about aspects of being a magician that you transferred to ventriloquism, if there were any?
The stage presence.
Okay.
I had been in front of audiences of all kinds, all shapes, all sizes. I had done, birthday parties for a couple people. I had done, fairs where only a couple people showed up. I can relate to Terry Fader's, one kid showed up. And I had done things where I'd been in front of 5,000 people who probably couldn't see me. So the thing I learned about magic was the engagement of the audience. And I brought that over into Vent. It wasn't easy because, I shouldn't say this. I saw, when I was struggling with my kid show, I saw a ventriloquist who, it was okay. But I thought, I could do that on a bad day. I couldn't. It looks, when it's done right, it looks so easy. It looks effortless. And, Ken is great at that. He makes everything look so effortless. Jay Johnson is phenomenal at that. His voices and his modulations, just incredible. Terry is just phenomenal. There's so many great vents out there, but I thought, I could do this. And then I picked up a puppet. And when I first put a puppet into the show, Landon, I thought, I've got about 3 to 5 minutes with this puppet. I'm going to, say, hey, would you like to see something new? And then I bring out the puppet and I do it, and it didn't get laughs. And with the magic, I did comedy. Comedy's always been my thing, whether it's magic or ventriloquism or whatever. I love making people laugh. I think there's nothing better than getting the audience to roll on the floor. Yeah. And so now I just lost my train of thought. That's what old age does to you. It's my bedtime. Anyway, no, I was going somewhere with this, and it was really important. I brought the puppet out, is what I was getting ready to say. And I do like 30 seconds to a minute with it. And it wasn't getting laughs. And when you're not getting laughs, you're just a person up there with a puppet, Mm-hmm. You go a minute on that stage with no laughs, and it's brutal, especially when you're used to like 4 to 6 laughs a minute. Yeah. And with my magic, I could get that. People would come up to me after my magic show and they would go, we were laughing so hard. And then I realized, hey, you're doing some pretty incredible magic too. With the magic, if people weren't laughing at the jokes, they were at least amazed by the magic. They had no clue as to how that was done. But with a puppet, if they're not laughing, you got nothing. And that was the hardest transition I ever had, going from magic to ventriloquism. But the moment I figured it out, the moment that I started getting laughs with the puppets, I was able to add more and more and more. And it was stronger than the magic. And that's when the magic, went out the door. So I keep very few magic tricks. I have a couple in my show, which I don't do as magic tricks. They're, something that like Dangerous does a stiff rope. I know a lot of people do that. I think I've got a pretty strong stiff rope routine. And then, there's some other things that I do with them, but for the most part, I try to keep the magic out of it. I don't get up there. I know like Mark Wade does library shows, and when he's doing a library show, he'll sometimes take a break from the puppet and do a magic trick. I don't do that. I try to stay true to the form that I want to do, which is the ventriloquism.
Okay. That's interesting. So you went from magic gradually into ventriloquism. You didn't just say, I'm going to write a show in a day type thing, which can never be done. But, yeah.
Oh, it could be done. Not well.
Right. Yeah. Of course. I'm curious. So you talked earlier about how the convention is always a family. Can you talk a little bit about IVS and how that came to be.
Yeah. Well, in 2013, very early 2013, Clinton Detweiler, who had Mayor Studios for years, and that's probably a name. It's surprising how many people do not remember Clinton. But a lot of people came in after that. And I remember one guy who was going through my Learn Ventriloquism course said, "Hey, I saw your video and you mentioned, Clinton Detweiler. Who was he?" And I had to explain it to him. Clinton was a very respected man. He helped so many people get into this art, and he was very supportive. And when he passed away, it left a big hole in the community. And at the time, I tried to do a video blog, and I was trying to do it every day because Clinton used to post all the time, and I didn't write very well back then. I wasn't much of a writer, so I would interview people just like you're doing, but I'd break it down into little chunks, like your daily dose of inspiration kind of thing, and I put them on every day, and I realized I couldn't keep up with that. Then at the convention, and I found this out actually before the convention, the family Detweilers were going to give Mayor Studios to Mark Wade to carry on the tradition.
Oh.
So Mark was going to, take control of it. And Mark at the time had no real idea of what to do with it. He wanted to, get somebody to build puppets for it. He wanted to, do all these things. But at the time, Mark had just retired. And Mark brought Ken into it because Mark and Ken were, very tight. They've been buddies for years, and Ken is his number 2 at the convention. So they've been really tight. And he brought Ken into it, and Ken said, "I don't know what to do with it," because Ken not real savvy with computers or anything. But Ken knew about my course, and he said, "Why don't we talk to Tom and bring him into it?" So Mark gave me a call, and we known each other. We didn't know each other real well, but we knew each other well enough that he gave me a call, and he said, "Ken, told me I ought to bring you in on this." And so we all decided to fly out to Ken's house, or I think I drove because I'm only 6 hours from there, and I didn't want to go through the airport. But anyway, so we all went out to Ken's house, and Ruby, his wife, was gone. So we all went down to the store and we bought all these frozen dinners because none of us can cook. And we nearly died from the ingredients in those frozen dinners. But we sat down and we started doing videos and talking and rehashing the mayor course itself because I knew right away that if we put it out as booklets, we not only have to pay for the printing of the booklets, but we'd have to collate, staple, sort, put them in a box, ship them, store them someplace. And I didn't want to store stuff. And I said, "Mark, why don't you store the puppets and stuff at your place?" And he's like, "I don't want to do that. And then I don't have room for that." And then Ken was like, "You ain't keeping them here." So puppets went out the way. And we decided at that point that Mayor was going to totally shift from the figure making and the puppets over to education, which is what it started as with the course. Now, granted, Fred Mayer put the course together so that he could sell figures that he was making, but we just wanted to make it an educational company, and the name was strong and it was known and in the community, and so that's what we did. And the first thing, and when we sat down at that table, Mark said, "I want to bring up the old NAAV, which was the North American Association of Ventriloquists." And the NAAV had been around, and really what the NAAV was, it was Clinton's way of advertising. He would put together these little news events, which were, sometimes decent sized books, but for the most part, they were paper pamphlets that had a couple pages in them. And it would be real small type and not always easy to read. And he would send these out, and there would be ads for Mayor Studios in there. And they'd see, "Oh, this is what Clinton's making now." Well, when the internet came around, and Clinton had troubles the same way every organization has troubles, keeping people on their books, getting them to remind them to pay the dues. You got to have somebody who's dedicated to that kind of thing.
Right.
And so it's not easy to have an organization. And we wanted to do something a little bit different. And the first thing we thought, because everybody was asking, I mean, Magic Cafe, I'd been on there as a magician, and I was on there as I was starting Vent. And oh my God, if you go back and read some of the posts I made, it's like, oh, I was pretty damn stupid. But they were all saying, you know, we'd like to start another association because we've got the NAAV on our website, and people didn't know whether it was still an active organization or not, but you know, it's kind of tacky. And so we decided we were going to start it back up. That's at that table, we decided we would start it back up, and we were going to call it the IVS, the International Ventriloquist Society. And the first thing Mark wanted to do was, well, are we going to print magazines? And I was like, I ain't printing. You're going to store the magazines. Who's sending these magazines out? You know how much we're going to have to charge people to be
someone in the comments said your King Rose impression is spot on.
I
throw that in there.
Anyway, but yeah, it was it was just, I didn't want it to be anything physical product because I knew that we were going to have problems with it. Mark was at least, well, let's send him out a certificate and a membership card. And, you know, I was like, well, where are we going to get these membership cards printed? Our first membership cards were trash. I don't know if you remember seeing it. They were like baseball card size, and we stuck a gold label on the back of it. It was pretty bad. It was ugly.
Others would say collector's item, but that works too.
Yeah, collector's item. That's what it is. Yeah, collector's item. But that's sad. I think back on that, and I am so embarrassed by that thing. But it was what we had at the time, and we wanted to get this thing up and running. So, you know, we made the decision. I think it was in October, and November we opened it up, and December we had our very first IVS Spotlight. And back then it was, you know, basically me, Ken, and Mark doing videos talking about different subjects, and we had a couple little things here and there from other people. Sure. And it stayed that way for most of the first couple of years. But it was amazing how many people joined. And then the problem was, because Mark is the executive director of the convention, we felt like it was a conflict of interest to have the IVS represented at the convention. Okay. But I gave, I remember going on stage and giving Jay Johnson an honorary membership at the convention. And then people started asking, what's the IVS? So we opened up a table, and I didn't have anything to do with this. They didn't tell me they were doing this. They just came in and they opened up a table and said, oh, we're taking IVS registrations. All these people signed up, and they didn't have access to anything IVS. They didn't have access to the website. They didn't have membership. They couldn't get into the members area. That was a nightmare for me. I'm trying to explain to people how to get in and how to, you know, they created a heck of a lot of work for me. And some people still didn't get it. You know, they went, oh, I'm not going to join again this year because I never got any of my magazines. We don't print magazines. And I want to go back to the membership. One of the reasons we don't print things, the last membership certificate that we actually mailed out had to go to, I think it was New Zealand. And it cost almost as much as their dues to mail it to them. Because it's, you know, it's an 8.5 by 11. Yeah. And we had it in a little portfolio so it wouldn't get bent in transit, and it just weighed enough, and it was of size that it wasn't the whole dues, but it was pretty darn close. I think it was like $24, $25 to mail that thing over there. And you know, we were charging $35 until PayPal takes their cut. You know, it's like this may not be the best idea. So we decided, okay, we're going to start doing them, you know, by PDFs, and people can print them out. Made sense to me. And then people started complaining we aren't getting membership cards now. And I thought, you don't use them for anything. All right. When do you use a membership card? Oh, sure. You can get a membership card and go by the mayor table at you know, the thing and say, hey, Chuck Lyons, I am a member of the IVS. And what will that get you? It'll get you a free pin and some other stuff that, please stop by and take this stuff. I've got it here. I don't like product. But anyway,
Chuck Lyons was a big help too. Shout out to him.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Chuck Lyons. He's a big help.
Is he here? Yeah, he said he was coming on. He's probably our only guest, huh? Yeah.
20, 30 people watching.
How many?
30.
30. Good gosh. You people have nothing to do tonight?
Well, they're all from your Learn Dash Ventriloquism course, and we've got a bunch of comments saying that you're the reason why they got into Vent, and which is great. So we have someone to blame now.
Yeah.
And no, but this is great. And you know what? I have your course. I'm a member of the IVS, and I have your course, Learn Ventriloquism, and I go back to it on a regular basis because it's amazing. And you've got so much material on there. Is it? Do you have the Dan Horn arm rod? Is that on the?
That is on Bear Studios.
Okay.
Learn Ventriloquism was mine before Mayor Studios came into the picture. Right. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm part of Mayor, or I am now Mayor. When I created the course, I wanted the course that I wished I had been able to take. Like I say, I studied everything, and I spent a lot of money. And I think at the time, the Mayor course was like $139 or $149. And when I put this course online, everybody's like, well, can we download it? What? No, it's going to be there for you. And they're like, well, how can you do it at that price? Well, a website isn't free, but it's easily manageable. And Learn Ventriloquism grew so much that it now rests on a private server, which cost me a lot more. But it's grown into what I always wanted it to be. So many people have gone through it. And we have the forum, which I don't know. I think you went in there when you first started it, Landon. But the forum has so much information. And honestly, I don't go onto the site as much as I know it's not as much as I should. But it became what I wanted it to become because Eddie Siller and Ann Seaton and a couple of others, I'm going to forget their names and they're going to get mad. Gary Barlotta, I think. There's a bunch of guys in there who will answer questions for people. And they went through the course. They know their stuff. They know what I'm going to say. In fact, if they dug through the things, they'd find me saying it somewhere. But I can't thank those people enough because they keep the conversation going. They're the ones that are actually helping train the future ventriloquists. So I'm very lucky to have created that when I did, and I'm just so glad that people like it. In fact, I still intend to update all the videos. I was going to do it last year. I got a 4K camera, and then I looked at it, and I was like, I don't like the quality of that. So, but it is in my wheelhouse to redo all those videos so that they're now, because I look back at some of them, and on my screen, because I've got like high def screens and everything now, I see pixelation, and I hate that when Dangerous talks. He's looking pixelated, right? So I want to make it better for people. I want to keep it fresh and current for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal, and it has.
Thank you.
The price is just you can't afford not to do it because it's worth every penny, and it's such a great course. Can you talk a little bit about what prompted you to start the Savvy Event Planner podcast? Because even though I'm not an event planner, I've listened to all the episodes, and they're absolutely fantastic. To hear the stories.
That was a form of content marketing for me.
Okay.
I work with event planners. Most acts go out and they try to go out through agencies. Event planners are hired by the client or are the client, and they're putting together the event. And when they need entertainment, they would then possibly go to the agency, and then the agency would call you, and you may or may not get the show depending. Mm-hmm. I started building relationships with event planners. They're doing events all the time, and I'm not going to be right for every event. So you need a lot of event planners on your roster. You've got to know them. You got to reach out to them. But that's what I started doing. And I thought to myself, how can I serve that market? And I thought, do a podcast on event planning.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize, and I did 52 episodes, and I have, I think, 3 more interviews that I did, and those people hate me because I never put them out. But the thing I realized was the people listening to that podcast are not the event planners. They're the people who want to get into event planning. And so I was getting all kinds of questions about events, and I realized this is taking me in the wrong direction.
Right.
So I stopped it. I loved it when I was doing it. I made a lot of really cool contacts. As you know, when you're doing any kind of content creation, you're able to sit down and talk to somebody for an hour or maybe longer, and you become friends, and those, everybody's been on this, including me, until later I'll forget you, but they're all going to remember you. My memory's not that good, but anyway, and you've made friends, and you're going to be talking to them for the rest of your life. And, they're always going to remember, hey, he's the guy that brought me on the show, and that's what I did. I made some really good friends who were really incredible speakers, other entertainers, and, some event planners. That it was worthwhile doing, but it wasn't worthwhile continuing. So that's how that all came about.
Okay, I see. Neat. It's interesting hearing the motive behind that.
Yeah, well, I don't do things just because I've got so much free time. Sometimes I pretend to do, but no, that was really a thing I wanted to try. And everybody was saying, you got to do a podcast. You got to do a podcast. Well, I didn't want to do a podcast for, we did a podcast for Ventriloquist. We did Mayor Radio, and we turned that into IVS Radio and put a lot of that behind the IV. And that stuff has some incredible killer content.
They're great. Yeah, it's all great. Yeah.
Yeah, we had so much fun doing that. We had, oh God, we would laugh. And even the videos, I've got outtakes, which I can never show, but the amount of laughter that Mark and Ken and I had, I've never had such a good time as when we were working together on all that stuff. The scripts, the dialogues, plus the podcast, just anytime we three got together. And that's kind of what brought me into the convention. I was already working sound, but Mark started counting on me more and more for different things. And now I'm doing the website for them, and I'm doing, Mark talks to me almost every day about everything that's going on. I do a lot of the graphics for him, which I haven't done as many this year because nobody's going to register right now. We're kind of in a hold pattern, but again, I still think it's going to go on. So anyway, that's kind of how it came about. Mark and I just became good friends. We were over at Ken's. I'm going to tell the story, Mark. If you're watching this, you're going to, he's going to be so embarrassed. Mark didn't know me that well. I got out there the day before, and we had talked all evening long, and we were laughing, having a good time. And the next morning, I had slept downstairs in the dungeon basement, and Mark got the guest room with the evil dummy inside, with the eyes that glow in the dark. And you'd have to turn the head around because it was one of those. Who put him out? The sideshow guy.
Jimmy Eisenberg.
Yes. And it was an incredible figure, but the eyes were freaky at night.
Yeah.
So, and Ruby wouldn't allow it, in her room. So Ken put it over there, and it just freaked out all the guests. But anyway, so I got up in the morning, and Ken was in his office, and I walked on back, and Mark was in the bathroom, and I'm talking to Ken, and on the way out, I hear the shower start, and I knocked on the door. I said, "Hey, Mark, you want me to come in and loofah your back?" And he goes, "Get away from here." He was scared. He thought I was going to come in. So, the loofah became our kind of like, we had little loofah cheers.
Right.
And the next time I went down to his place, they picked me up at the airport, he and Jody, and they gave me loofah pom-poms. So, Mark loved to have his loofah around. He's a loofah guy. And, but yeah, he didn't know how to take me. He thought I was serious. And Ken's like, he was joking. Calm down, Mark. Because Mark can get a little, intense at times.
Yeah.
And, I just like to poke at him.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I thought you were going somewhere with the dummy, and you bring out the loofah. That was it was just something stupid, and it did across. But that loofah thing is still a laugh between us. Yeah.
When Mark went in for his, to give you an idea of our friendship.
Mm-hmm.
When Mark went in for his operation, he had the essential tremor, and he had to have an implant put into his brain. And listening to him talk about that, it's an incredible operation, and it's got to be extremely difficult. And I know he was nervous about it. Everybody was nervous about it because, they're going into his brain. So I decided I was going to, do something for him. And what I did was I got one of those kiddie bike helmets, kind of like the ones, the people who are going to bang their heads into a wall are going to wear.
Yeah.
I got one of those kiddie bike helmets, and I put flowers and Marky on the back of it. And I sent it down to him. And when he opened that box, he cracked up. And Jody called and said, I haven't laughed that hard in years.
Oh, man.
He just went back and had something else done to it. And I said, take along your bike helmet just in case they mess up. So,
That's
yeah,
great.
that's the kind of friendship we have. It's we rib each other. We have a great time.
Well, that's great. That's great because with you three, running the convention, it makes it easier because of that friendship, and
It really does.
making sure everything moves, runs smoothly. Yeah, that's truly great.
But the thing was, with Mayor, after the IVS and everything, Mark and Ken decided to leave. I can't even remember what year that was. I think it's been on its own for like 3 years now, at least, and or for me. And I asked a bunch of friends to step up, and they've been producing videos. I got to thank everybody that does that. Neil Bacon puts stuff on. David Fowler is putting in recipes. Chuck Lyons. I'm going to leave people out, and they're going to hate me. Juan Lu over in the Philippines. I mean, there's just so many people. The Korea, Susan over in Korea, she does stuff. So many. I can picture Dennis Miller. No, Dennis Miller. Dennis. Anyway, he's the puppeteer over in Australia, and he is constantly sending. He already sent me stuff for the June issue, and it's like, you got to love people like that. They're so helpful, and we've really expanded that. So, and I think that was a big thing for me because when Mark and Ken left, people started dropping membership. And I was like, aren't you going to stay a member? And they're like, well, we weren't learning that much with Mark and Ken in there, so we can't imagine we're going to learn that much with you. And it's like, okay.
Oh, man.
And anytime you do something like that to me, that's kind of like challenging me. And when I became a magician, Landon, when I became a full-time magician, I did it because when I was about 8 years old, my dad said, well, you can't be a professional magician. You just can't do it. There's no way you can be a professional magician around here. Because his idea of a magician was you either did birthday parties or you were on television. There was no in between.
One extreme to the next, yeah. Yeah,
there was no in between. And because he didn't understand the business, he didn't know how many different levels there really are in any branch of show business. But that's what made me want to do it. I've always been very headstrong that way. And it was the same thing when people said, oh, well, we can't. I decided I'm going to make it bigger. I started doing the membership cards, and every year I try to do a different collectible membership card. And I send those out because they can go out for first class postage. And I'm behind on those. So if you're waiting for one, I'll get to you. I promise. I've just been a little busy lately, with the quarantine and everything. I got things to do. So that was my thing. I have always been the kind of person who, if you tell me something's going to happen, not with me, buddy. Right. So, and I hate that. I hate that because I get myself into situations that I really wish I wasn't in.
Well, we have a comment here from Ken Groves. He said, have Tom tell us about riding in our underwear.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. He didn't talk about that last night.
No, he didn't.
Man, shame on you. We were down in Bare Butt Bay. That's what Ken calls it, Bare Butt Bay, which is where Mark.
Okay. Yeah.
And we were writing these scripts. And Mark got up to go into the other room and do something. He was talking on the phone or something. I don't know. But he got up and walked in the other room. So Ken and I, we looked at each other. We both stood up, took off all our clothes except for underwear, threw them behind the couch, and sat back down, propped our feet back up, put our computers right on our lap. So we looked like we were sitting there naked. And Mark comes back in the room, doesn't pay any attention to us. He's talking on the phone, and then he goes over to the little bar counter that they have at their kitchen, and he's doing something over there. And then he turns around, and he's looking at his papers, and he's talking to us. And finally, he looks up, and he does a double take. Nearly has a heart attack. He's like, wow! And to this day, that couch still has stains on it from Ken. But but yeah, so that kind of became our thing. We did that. I think we did that a couple times to him, and he still. I remember being in his office one time, and Ken wasn't there, and I did it. I was sitting in the chair behind his desk, or he was at his desk, and I was in the chair behind him. And when he turned around, he's like, "Get your clothes on." He's like, "What if Jody had walked in here?" I was like, "She would have fainted." And it's just me.
That's hilarious. Well,
and Ken, I don't think they found all your business. Ken started this thing where if he comes to your house, Landon, you got to move the lamps. You got to check under the lamps. You've got to clean, because he will put business cards where you won't expect them. And 6 years later, you'll be like, "What the heck? How did that get there?" That's Ken.
That's great. Are they his business cards or just random cards he's gotten over the years?
Business cards. He puts his business cards. I don't know. I think that's how he's getting rid of them now. maybe Mark or Jody will hire him. I don't know.
Maybe. Well, I'm curious because I had seen a picture from I believe it was last year's convention of you with a horse character.
Yes.
Is that one? Is that a character that you're working on now? And can you talk a bit about that?
You know, Landon, I like puppets.
No, everyone's guilty of it. It's okay. Like I'm curious to hear what your process is, why you bought it, and kind of what you. Because you do different. You do corporate, but then you also do library shows as well, and you do a little bit of everything. So,
well, I can. The only reason I got into the library shows, I got out of the fairs and the festivals, because they were hiring me for free stages. And free stages, you're either out in the sun or you're under a pavilion and your audience is out under the sun. And they're some of the most difficult shows in the world to do, because people sit down literally at a fair. They're hot. They're tired. They're like, "Go ahead and make me laugh, puppet boy or magician boy," or whatever. And it can be miserable, and the dust gets into your throat, and it's just nasty. Now, I have done some fairs where they've treated me very nice, and I still have an agent that will put me into fairs, but he's very selective about where he'll put me. So I decided, a friend of mine did library shows, and he's like, maybe you ought to, he's a magician and he's very, very good. And he said, why don't you do library shows? They're air conditioned. I'm like, they don't pay anything. He goes, well, you got to do 100 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing 100 of them at 350, you're making $35,000 over the course of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, don't look at it as, oh, I've only got one show and I've got to drive 3 hours to get to it today. Because tomorrow you'll have 3 shows and they'll be, 50 minutes away from your house or even closer. And so I decided I'm going to try it. And it's air conditioned. It's easy. It is very easy to do a library show. And the reason for that is a lot of library entertainers, and this is nothing against any of them, they are teachers or somebody who is doing something during the year and they have the summer off. Okay. Or, they can get some weekends off and they're booking the shows then. So I'm a little bit, I shouldn't say that. I'm a corporate entertainer. I know how to treat clients. I know how to take things to the next level, customer service wise, program wise. I've performed internationally. I've worked with all different types of audiences, and I know how to pull the laughter. When you're doing corporate, if you're not getting laughter, you're in real trouble. So the library shows were a breeze for me, and the librarians were blown away. So I worked a good number of those, and I'm slowly getting out of it. And the reason is it's just not as rewarding as it used to be. But I saw Horace at the convention. It was one of the puppets by Jet, and she makes some amazing characters.
Yeah.
And I couldn't afford a Landon Harvey character, so I was over at the Jet table.
I didn't have a table that year.
No, you didn't. But I was over at the Jet's table, and I saw it, and I said, put him back for me. So she put a sold sticker on him, and I bought him. He was just so cute. I mean, he's such a cute little guy, and he's small, which I like. When I travel, Dangerous. I've got the Axtel vent masks now. The only reason I switched over those was so that I could buy the rights from Ron. A lot of people don't do that. They don't see the need for it. But based on my position in the community, I thought I really ought to, do it. And I've got some other masks that I like just as well. But I'm using the vent mount.
But they also probably pack easier too, right? Don't they pack easier because it's just that they're lighter and they're
lighter. I don't know if they pack easier. Actually, they pack a little harder. They're not as the cords aren't as flexible on them. But because the others are like a bike cord, and it's very easy to operate. So and it curls up in the little pack. So, but I put the vent masks. I've got a tennis ball character. I've got Dangerous, and I put all those into a carry-on, which is a porter case, because it opens up into a dolly and can literally take my suitcase when I get to the airport and I have to pick up my suitcase, my clothes at the thing. I can just open it up and I've got a little dolly to pull around. I don't have a bunch of cases.
Oh, that's great.
But so everything has to pack small and it has to go into that case. And the horse puppet is small. And I don't think he would fit in there with Dangerous, but he would fit in there by himself. So if I decided I was going to use him, that was the thought. And I wanted to create another really strong character. And I got him, and I took a country bumpkin kind of character because I've always liked, rednecks and country bumpkins. Trish Dunn has an incredible redneck reindeer.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Also by Jet. So shout out to Jet at the and I'm planning on doing a Puppet Builders Week, so we'll have her on here.
Okay, cool. And I want Barry Gordimer to build something for me. I've got an idea for a albino black bear who's just kind of shallow in the gene pool. But I started playing with this horse, and it was going to be a country bumpkin kind of character. And the one thing I came up with was his name is now Horace. I thought it was Horace. He goes, well, it was. But people come up and go, what's your name? Horse. We know you're a horse. What's your name? Horse. And then they back away slowly. Something wrong with him. Get him that Marky Wade helmet. So, that was the kind of thing I was playing with. And honestly, I do so many things between the IVS and the, my own business and my shows that I travel for. I've got a couple of side businesses that I do that are online, that's been a godsend for me during this, lockdown, this quarantine, because I'm still earning an income. And that was always my goal online, was I wanted to create some stuff that would give me an income when I retire and, still bring some money in. So thankfully, I'm still making course sales, and I'm still, selling mayor stuff, and I'm still selling, IBS memberships, and I'm still selling for my other little online businesses, and all of them are information based. I don't do anything where I have to do physical product, but so this was going somewhere.
You're talking about Horace.
I was talking about what?
Your horse.
No, it wasn't.
And
yeah. Oh, the horse. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I haven't played with him as much as I should. And I was going to put him in the library shows this summer. And because I'm phasing out of the library shows, because that's the other thing. When you're breaking something in, you can't break it in at the level of, a corporate event. You got to do it in the small shows. And for me, the small shows were the library shows. Are the Knoebels Park that I've been playing for 25 years now. So they're the smaller programs, and they're the ones where I can bring out something and test it, and then test it again, because usually you're doing multiples of those shows. I used to do a thing called Beach Street USA down in Virginia Beach. They'd pay me to come down and work street. Didn't pass the hat, didn't need to, didn't want to, wasn't allowed to. But I would do 3 45-minute shows a night down there. And it allowed me to get so tight and get my comedy honed and play in front of so many different crowds. I don't think I was ever as sharp as I was when I was doing a month straight of those shows. And that's really what people forget. You know, they want to, I want to get money. I want to get paid. Jay Johnson once told me something really cool. He said, you can't expect to get paid if you don't have your time on the, time on the boards, or if you don't have your showmanship down. And that was in the discussions on showmanship course. And that stuck in my mind, because so many people, they go, oh, okay, I know how to do this. I can do this. But until you've really worked in front of, lots of audiences, you don't have it honed. And I used to set a camera up behind me, focused on the audience, and I would watch them after the show. Because I did a whole bunch of things where I'd watch myself. Ken has this great technique. I don't know if he talked about it last night. And I use that in the Learn Ventriloquism course too, where you perform and then you cover up the puppet, you cover up yourself, and you watch. But what I would do is I would set the camera up and I would watch the audience, and I'd watch them. And if they weren't engaged, if they weren't laughing, I would ask myself why. What was I doing? I could hear myself. I knew what was going on. So that gave me a way of, where do I need to add more interaction? Where do I need to be able to draw their attention? A couple of years ago, Event sent me a link to a video he did. He goes, I nailed this show. And it wasn't nailed. The audience, because he had a side shot. Now, he did a great job. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He nailed what he was doing. But the audience was looking at their watch. The kids were playing with their toys. I was like, that's not nailing it. Yeah. You really want to have that group involved. You want to have them engaged. And if you go to Jeff's concert, he gets 11,000 people engaged. And we don't need to work with that many people. You just have to work with a lot of people to get good. And,
sure,
again, that's going back to, I think, something we talked about earlier. But
so I'm curious, how long is your normal corporate show?
About 45 to 50 minutes.
Okay,
and I could do longer. I don't go out and do cruise ships anymore, because they want a 45-minute show, and then they want a 30-minute show, and then they might want you to do a 15-minute show somewhere. I have about 50 minutes, 55 minutes of grade A material. Mm-hmm. And I got into the corporate stuff, and I did well in it, and I've done well in it. I'm still doing okay in it. But not right now, because they're all canceling. But anyway, that aside, when I got into that, I was like, okay, I can't fail. That's a lot of pressure. And you can't afford to fail at those prices. They're paying you, and they expect a return on their dollar. And you've got to meet their goals. Their people have to feel engaged. You've got to give them that mood that they want to create, so that when their people leave there, they have that feeling. And so I'm afraid at times to add anything new. And if I do something at Knoebels, or I do something at a library, I'm not doing it enough. Even with doing a summer full of library shows, because they're kids. So they're not going to react the same way adults would. And Knoebels is family, so they're not going to always act. You can get away with a lot of stuff there, and you can do some things, and you can get a feel for how the adults are going to take it. But it's very difficult to then take it over into the corporate market. And that's why I stay about, with my A material. And a lot of people go, well, don't you write new material? I do write new material. And sometimes I'll throw a new joke in here and there. But, for a whole new routine, I don't do it. I can, man, he can write things and take them on stage and just rock them. And he always says with the Amish theater, at the beginning of the season, it's not tight, but by the end of the season, it is, because he's done it so many times. And that's really what it takes. It takes honing that in front of a live audience. You can't get good any other way that I know of. So, that's just a fact. That's what it is.
That's great. It's interesting. I was curious to see, you know, what you're doing with that character and how you integrate it. So
he's in a closet. He's in a closet. I'm real happy. But like I say, I think Country Bumpkin kind of character, and I kind of envision him having grown up on the same farm as Dangerous.
Okay, cool. So you've got that relationship with the puppets.
They know each other. They might not be best of friends, but they know each other.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of like I look back to Edgar Bergen, Charlie McCarthy, and Mortimer Snerd. Charlie McCarthy hated Mortimer Snerd.
Yeah.
And then you go to Winch and his you know, Jerry Mahoney and Knucklehead Smith, and you know. So I was kind of, you know, thinking about harking or going back to that kind of relationship, not necessarily the same character types, but I guess in a way they are, because Dangerous is a pretty much smart ass kind of thing, and if Horace was, you know, slow and kind of backwards, it, you know, so. But I think deep down, I want him to be smarter than he lets on. You know, when I bring him out, he's not going to do anything bright until it's too late for me to realize that he's played something on me or something. So,
sure.
You know,
that's great, because that you're the development of the character and the potential for comedy, and then that relationship between Dangerous and that character. That's neat. That's neat. In wrapping up here, what do you hope to see from the future of ventriloquism?
I hope to see more people like you.
Okay.
You came on the scene. You won the Terry Fader contest. You went on that stage and just were full of personality. You know, and I love that about you and the young vets. We need more young blood in this. A lot of people thought Darcy was going to bring a lot of people into this. We really haven't seen as many as we'd hoped. But that's not to say they're not there. You know, they're not part of the community yet, if they are there. And I'd love to see more vets come to the convention to learn. To make use of all the materials that are out there for us now. There's so many free resources. There's so many good, you know, paid resources. You know, Lee Cornell put out all those great videos by Sammy King and by Bill DeMar. And, you know, it's funny. Bill was an incredible talent. Not a lot of people knew exactly how much of a legend he was. Because, you know, they met him at the convention. He was a nice old guy. But Bill was phenomenal. And you can learn from these people. And you've got to learn about your past before you can go into the future. So I'd like to see more youth come into it and bring the knowledge of what's happened, and then take their personalities and just run forward with it. Because as popular as it is now, everything has waves. We're probably going to hit a downturn at some point. And when we do, it's going to be up to the next generation to bring it back up. And I think we've got some bright stars on the horizon. And, you know, I hope that they do it.
Wow.
I'm sure they will.
I am too. Tom Crowl, thank you so much for being part of Landon Live and for sharing your story.
My pleasure, Landon. Thank you for having me.
All right. And thank you guys for tuning in. And tomorrow night we have Terry Fader. So make sure to tune in tomorrow night. And
we got no questions, Brandon?
Well, we can see we have a lot of shout outs to you for Learn Ventriloquism. Someone had asked about how to become part of the IVS, and someone already answered. So you've got people that are already on your side, and that's phenomenal. And I think we're all good. I mean, we got all of our questions down. So, yeah. Do you think? Oh, well, we already talked about the convention happening this year. It's on until we hear something else. So.
Yeah. And we really, again, we are at the mercy of the governor of Kentucky right now. So as soon as we know something, we'll let you know. But I watched all these conventions canceling, and this is back in March, and I'm thinking this quarantine isn't going to last that long. It's not going to last into the summer, and I'm surprised it's lasted this long, because I know it's I probably shouldn't go into this, but I know it's everybody's worried about it, but I honestly think I came down with it back in February. and it was bad. But they say it's been around since October. So where were the death spikes in November, December, January, and February? They attributed it to something else. Well, you'd still think, well, why are the deaths from this going way up all of a sudden? I'm not sure. I know it's bad. I know it kills people, but so does the flu, so does tuberculosis, so does diabetes. So, you know, you get a cold, everybody's like, stay home.
Yeah.
No. I'm going to start going out, folks. So I'm sorry if I tick you off, but I'm an introvert, but I got to get out.
That's going to be that little clip of you talking right there is going to be the intro to the convention this year.
Great.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this, Tom. And thank you guys for tuning in. This has been so much fun.
Take care, Linda. Thanks.
All right. You too. Bye.